Well, hey everybody, this is Norman.
And Debbie.
And today we're here at the Capitol for week 2 of the legislative session. And so in our video today, we just want to give you a brief overview of some of the legislative priorities we'll be working on this year, and then close with our day at the Capitol details. So first of all, we'll talk about just the sanctity of life. So there's a lot of bills that in a lot of people's minds are traditionally anti-abortion or pro-life. For example, the idea that you can't force a woman with a threat of violence to have an abortion. We'll be working on a bill this year on that topic. That's what you'd maybe call a traditional pro-life bill. But what we're also seeing is that the scope of beliefs that we need to hold and things that we need to know about to truly be pro-life is kind of expanding into these other areas that we're learning more and more about. So one of those areas is commercial surrogacy. So Debbie, what do we expect to see this year on surrogacy?
Yeah, we were blessed to have Katie Faust join us last week to talk about surrogacy, and there are videos of her talks, and she really ties in how surrogacy is very different from adoption and how it is definitely not pro-life. So we are expecting the surrogacy industry in South Dakota to be bringing a bill that recognizes surrogacy. Currently, there is no law in the state of South Dakota that recognizes surrogacy at all. So they're going to bring that bill under the guise of regulation, and we will be looking to oppose that and possibly bringing a bill for more protections against surrogacy.
Right. And with surrogacy, is it 7% of embryos created that are born alive?
Yes, only 7%. So 93% of those babies that are created in a lab will never be born alive. So not very pro-life.
Not very pro-life. The second issue is the idea of medical conscience rights for doctors. Last year we called it the Med Act. This year the language will look different. It's more streamlined. We're calling it the HELP Act. And what it does is it says that a doctor should never be fired or punished for doing something that they believe would harm a patient. And so you may ask, okay, well, how is that tied to the issue of being pro-life? Well, right now in South Dakota, a doctor is prohibited from being, like, you can't force a doctor to be a part of an abortion. But what we're seeing is there's a whole lot more pro-life questions. What do we do with all of these embryos? Should we be creating embryos? Should we ever selectively reduce? Should we do DNA editing? There's all of these questions that are coming up, and so the issue is much broader than simply should a doctor be forced to do an abortion. So protections really need to be in place for all of our pro-life doctors who are faced with all these new situations, new discoveries, new ideas, and they're trying to make the most pro-life decision possible, and they should receive protection when they're trying to protect patients.
Yeah, and pro-life doctors are being pushed out of a lot of different specialties, especially OB, which makes it really difficult for a pro-life woman to find a doctor that agrees with her stance on life.
Mm-hmm. So then we'll jump into our next legislative priority, and we'll just simply title this Standing for Biological Realities, whether that be women's sports, as we've seen a lot of discussion on, or the different surgeries or injections that are offered, or this locker rooms and bathrooms that the discussions that always come up. So whether it's sports or locker rooms or medicine, we're going to be standing for biological realities this year at the Capitol, and we expect to see legislation on multiple different areas of this discussion.
Yeah, and there could be a lot of bills on education. We've already seen a really good bill that expands the Partners in Education scholarship, just provides more money for that program. And we heard in committee that they've been using all the money that they have, and they really need more. So we're really supportive of that. It gives parents more choices. Mm-hmm. And then we had a great homeschool bill last year. We're not planning on bringing any homeschool legislation this year, but we're just trying to guard what we already have. We haven't seen any bad bills coming, but we're on the watch for them.
Yep. And also within the sphere of education, we'll probably see some legislation on curriculum or transparency, also some parental rights, whether that's education or broader. And then we've already seen one, and we expect to see more gambling expansion bills. So we'll be taking a look at that, kind of put a hamper on gambling expansion here in the state. So those are a lot of our legislative priorities that we'll be looking at. So if you stay tuned for our future videos, you'll see different updates of the different bills, where they're at, and where you can make your voice heard. But let's close out with our day at the Capitol.
Yeah, so we hope you'll all come and join us in Pierre on February 3rd. We'll have buses coming from Rapid City and Sioux Falls, or you can drive on your own, and you can sign up at fhaaction.org.
So to see all the bills we're following, you can go to our legislative radar. To sign up to join us at the Capitol, you can go to our events page. But all of this can be found at fhaaction.org. So we'd love it if you take a look and stay in tune with what we're working on here at the Capitol and make your voice heard. Your legislators want to hear from you. Thanks, everyone.
See you next time.